In this week's stream critique, we're actually reviewing two streamers, and they have similar layouts and similar ideas, and I think that's really cool, but they execute them fairly differently. And so I'm going to have fairly different things to say about each of them, and I think there's something to take away. But I think both of them are doing some things very, very right. Let's review some streams, shall we? First and foremost, we have RetroEngineDuo. Now, they specifically did not give me a whole lot to work with in terms of like their strengths or weaknesses. Like, they left their application mostly blank. So I'm just going to review them, on the surface based on what their channel says and the things that I have to give as feedback. So we have Classic and Modern Gaming, hosted by Josh and Julian every Monday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Perfect. Their branding's on point. They're going with, retro console design. You can see here in some of their streams. Yeah. We are over 18 years of old. 18 years of old? 18 years of age / years old? Anyway, they have this awesome little retro themed layout here that looks like kind of like a Game Boy or a PC Engine Duo. They got a view here. That's their intro. They got, their chat and their sub integrations into it. I really like how this is presented overall. The branding here is super on point. I am a fan of this. They have some quality issues though. Now, I'm not gonna harp on it too harshly because I think they're working with what they got. Because actually, if we go in here to the stats for nerds, the video stats, you can see they're streaming at about 2 megabits per second. Sometimes it gets a little bit under 3 megabits per second, and they're streaming at 720p 60. So clearly they're bandwidth limited, which is fine. If that's what you got, you work with it. And so the quality is going to be a little bit crunchy for that. Now, they have working in their favor the fact that most of the screen stays static for the majority of the stream. So you got your layout that doesn't move, you got your text that only updates every so often, and then you got your chat text, which updates, but it's fairly slow. So the bits only really need to go to the game and their faces. Now, their green screen quality isn't amazing, but it's serviceable. It's fine. My problem with their presentation here is that the camera angle is a little bit, awkward. It's kind of like they're on a couch, I think, and the camera angle is set on like a coffee table in front of the couch, and so it's pointed up at them from the couch level, which is kind of like a crotch cam. It gets pointed kind of up their nose, up their face, which is not a flattering angle, and then it gets regularly blocked by their knees and their hands, and I just find it unpleasing. I kind of get it from a hey, you're chilling with us perspective, but there's a lot of psychology that goes into camera angles with in terms of height. And when you have a camera angle super below the person's face, that gives the presenter this kind of feeling of authority or dominance over the viewer, which works if you're trying to play the voice of God or a super, I'm Thor looking down on you viewer character or something. But when you're in a chill with us stream kind of perspective, it doesn't really work the same. And the same thing with looking up above, that then minimizes you to your audience and makes your audience have kind of the authority over you. And this is kind of a poor, it's not super low, but it's still a poor angle to choose. And I honestly don't think anyone looks super flattering at that angle. I don't know what stand or tripod or whatever they're using, but I would recommend getting that up a little bit and pointed more eye level at them. Getting that a little bit more even to where the legs and the waist level is kind of cropped off. I think that would be a little bit more flattering. It would make their overall view look a little bit better, and probably allow them to focus on their face a little bit more as well. And honestly, again, I don't know what camera they're working with, but I would kind of recommend them getting a wider angle lens, or if they're using a webcam, getting one of the, potentially trying out one of those smartphone lens adapters that gives you a wider angle on their webcam, because weirdly enough, getting that more fisheye view like our side angle here, whee! In their particular instance, the wide angle fisheye view, and you don't got to go super fisheye, but the wide angle fisheye view actually shrinks down the people in the frame, which allows them, when they're in a two-person setup like that, to focus in more on them. So for example, if I'm doing a game stream and we'll switch over to my main cam. This actually is still considered a wide angle, but if I'm right up on the camera, it becomes a little bit more awkward to kind of frame me properly. Whereas if we have a super wide angle view like this, I can crop off a ton of the extra space around me to just focus on me. Now this applies to them specifically because there's two of them and they're on a couch and they presumably don't want to be like all snuggled up against each other. And this one keeps leaning off a frame, which is kind of awkward. They keep leaning out of the camera view and things like that. And so by getting a wider angle view, getting that angle up and getting them kind of shrunk into the frame, they can crop off more of the sides. You know, they could still crop off where their green screen isn't or whatever, but kind of squish them a little bit more into the spot that they're supposed to be on the video. And I think that would work a little bit better and help avoid this awkward scenario where he keeps leaning out of frame. Again, I don't know what their space looks like or anything like that. They gave me a little to work with, but I think that would be a pretty substantial change for them to implement. Generally, their video quality isn't amazing. Like the scaling quality of whatever retro consoles they're using is pretty poor. I'm not a huge fan of their like title here. That's a little awkward. I would love some more custom fonts there to make it look a little bit better. But their scaling quality isn't super great. If they're using a decent quality scaler and stuff and it's just blurry in OBS, make sure you're using the area scaling filter in OBS. That is the best one for most retro games, especially when you're doing kind of fitting it into a frame that may not be a perfect even crop. That should look a little bit better. And if you're looking for hardware choices to get a little bit higher quality scaling option, look to the RetroTink line of capture device, or not capture devices, scalers. So I have here the RetroTink 2X Mini and the RetroTink 2X Pro, and this is the multi-format. And they take your composite, S-video, or component inputs, this one's composite and S-video only, and spits it out via HDMI at 480p and does a clean integer scale, which makes things look a lot better and a lot smoother. And then you can scale that up to 1080p or 720p or whatever with the area scaling filter in OBS. Or you can use, you know, more expensive FrameMeisters and open source scan converters and the RetroTink 5X and all of that, but you don't need to. The cheaper RetroTinks are frankly good enough. But yeah, RetroTink 5X is apparently coming in stock next month, so there's that. In terms of like presentation and everything else, it's kind of okay. Whenever they die in a lot of these platformer games, when they're in between lives, they stop and respond to chat, and otherwise they kind of just reference chat messages as they go. And that's something I've been preaching a lot, especially for multiplayer shooter players, is whenever you're in between matches, don't just keep queuing up instantly. Switch camera angles and engage with your stream and provide some entertainment and some connection, and then queue up a match. Don't just keep going match to match to match. However, what they don't do right, while they're doing that part right, what they don't do right is they are still doing the same camera angle for the entire duration of the stream. There's no cut to them, there's no break scene, it's just the same gameplay scene for hours and hours and hours, which is boring to viewers. It doesn't work super well. And when you already have multiple sources set up, you could easily set up a secondary, you know, retro layout focused on their webcam or things like that. Now, it seems like they experiment with their layout sometimes, so I did want to note they have a different layout where it's presented where their camera has a frame around it. I don't know if they've ditched this or if that's what they normally do. My issue with the frame specifically is that they still have no background. So it's a frame around their camera, but then their background is still keyed out. So I would recommend creating or, you know, finding some sort of retro looking background to include that you then blur out. Don't make it sharper than your camera, but blur out and make it seem like you're sitting in an environment. But this could just be an older layout. It seems like they were switching back and forth a little bit, so I wasn't sure. So, you know, that's the way to go. So that means that it's time for this streamer to get to their streamer professor's report card. So first and foremost, in terms of video quality, I am giving them a B-. They are running at a super low bitrate. It gets kind of crunchy sometimes. The green screen isn't great. It doesn't mean it's like anything they necessarily can or need to do anything about. I offered some suggestions in terms of scaler options and scaling filters and camera angles and things like that they can improve it. But ultimately, if you're bitrate limited, you're bitrate limited, and I'm not going to hold that against you, even if it does affect your grade. You can make a career on not having the best video quality. You can. So not a huge deal there. For audio quality, I'm giving them a B. It's honestly not great. We can actually go and play a sample here real quick. I guess I should have done that.
Where?
They have a microphone, I believe, sitting like right between them.
Yeah, if I go over there.
But it's like super echoey. Their game sounds too loud. Honestly, I don't think in the other streams I was looking at, their game sound wasn't quite this loud. So this one from yesterday, funny enough, is a little bit too loud. So ow, my ears.
Guys,
okay, yeah. So I would honestly give them a lower score based on this VOD than the VODs I was looking at. But regardless, I'm giving them a B because overall their audio quality is okay, but it's not great, not super stellar. In terms of hosting, giving them a B. They do a fairly decent job. This is more of a hang out with us while we play games kind of stream rather than a super hyper entertaining or educational stream, which is fine. They have the personalities for that. They have 2 people, which makes it so much easier to play off of each other. And, you know, keep the conversation going. Doing things as a co-op pair is always the way to go. And they generally respond to chat and things like that. So they're regularly talking. They're reacting to the game. Metadata wise, I'm giving them an A. Usually they have something associated with the game. I would recommend taking out the follower goal out of their titles. That just is always bad to me. Please don't put follower sub goals. This is a personal preference, but I'm always against it personally. I think it devalues your content in a major way and devalues your followers or your subscribers in a major way. In terms of graphics, I'm giving them a B+. They made their own made their own custom layouts that matches their literal channel branding. Their branding is on point. My only complaint had to do with the webcam frame, and sometimes their font choices are kind of mismatched and out of place. And then finally, their presentation, I am of course giving them a D+ because they never change scenes throughout the entire stream, which is something I'm going to continue to harp on over and over and over. If you want to apply for Stream Critique yourself, you can head on over to streamguides.gg/streamcritique. That is an application. If that doesn't work for you, I also posted a Google form. Please try to use the website one though, because I don't really check the Google form much. That's the one from last season. But it is there as a backup because sometimes the website one just doesn't kind of work for some reason. Wait, what's Nebula? Excuse me. Nebula is my own streaming service I have built with my creator friends. I guess I'm running a Nebula ad as well. Here we go. Nebula is my own streaming service I have built with my creator friends here. Here, my videos are higher quality because they don't have crazy YouTube compression. They are ad-free and they are often extended from the YouTube version. So like a lot of the mic reviews, I think I forgot to mark that one as extended, but a lot of the mic reviews have extra mic samples that aren't included in the YouTube one, or they otherwise have extra content that aren't included in the YouTube versions because retention and YouTube algorithms and all of that jazz. It's harder to get longer form content really going on YouTube, so a lot of that stuff gets put over here. And then things like my how to build a stream show, I just put that all in the same like video with all the extended stuff I cut out of the individual episodes. And then I do have an interview show series coming. I'm doing the first episode of that. I'm recording it on Thursday of this week. And I'm super stoked for it. And the extended cut of those interviews will go up here as well, just like the giant like 2-hour interview I did with Mr. Greggles was, and an extended cut of my YouTube studio tour, all of that. And so it's my own streaming site built with people that do awesome educational YouTube stuff. We'll also have podcasts coming on it as well. And yeah, and if you want to sign up, I'd actually recommend going instead to CuriosityStream, if I can type, .com/epos, as CuriosityStream is a separate streaming site. I know that's a little confusing, but it's a separate streaming site focused on educational content and documentary content who wanted to partner up with Nebula, form a YouTube alliance or something. And so if you sign up with my link for CuriosityStream, which is only $15 a year, you get Nebula and CuriosityStream for the price of one, for $15 for a whole year. Pretty awesome. All right, we're getting on to streamer number 2. Here we have the Game Looters. This is a YouTube channel that is effectively achieving my YouTube dreams that I had with my wife back in like 2012 and 2013. Because those of you who don't know, my YouTube channel originally started out as a gaming channel. And in fact, one of the main pivots that we had for a while was it was a co-op gaming channel. We called it Let's Play Together. And it was a co-op Let's Play channel with me and my now wife. And this was before co-op Let's Plays were a common thing. So this was before the Game Grumps were huge or any of those where you had a bunch of groups of people doing co-op Let's Plays. That wasn't really a common thing. So we were like ahead of the curve, but I didn't know how to do a whole lot of the marketing or anything for it. So it didn't end up going very well. And frankly, we don't have the lifestyle to stick with long form Let's Plays and stuff anyway. But, you know, that was what we thought we were going to do on YouTube here for things like that, stuff like that. And this is a married couple effectively doing that. They are a husband and wife couple that are doing gaming videos, news videos, tips, tricks, as well as streams doing co-op stuff about various video games. So for example, if we go over here to this stream, they have a stream going where they're both playing Animal Crossing and talking to chat and things like that, which is pulling at my heartstrings, really close to home. Super stoked on that aspect, on its own. We do have some improvements to make as well, as we always do. Always got some feedback there. So they stream every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They post guides, tips, and tricks, and of course their streams. They're fairly consistent about the games that they stream, but something that they say they struggle with is their actual, in terms of like overall consistency with just getting streams going together, because I think they have a kid. They mentioned in one of the streams, lifestyle stuff kind of gets in the way. But something that they also struggle with is balancing streaming with their existing like YouTube content, because they're focused on building YouTube content to go with, building subscribers and things like that. So this is going to be the first episode of Stream Critique that's also kind of a YouTube critique. And by the way, if you didn't know, my job used to actually be being a YouTube consultant. I worked for a YouTube MCN for a very long time. And that was kind of eventually my overall goal, was I was their YouTube expert or whatever. And I got certified in this and that and the other, and was doing consultations and helping people grow their channels. And that was before I decided to grow my own. And so it's kind of something that is technically a specialty of mine, even if I help people behind the scenes, but I don't do a lot of it publicly. So we are combining that with Stream Critique here, since we pivoted to streaming a bit. So we're going to do a little bit of both here. We got some cool stuff to go. So obviously they post videos alongside their streams, and they say that they're having trouble balancing it. And frankly, I think they're doing a good job, because they stream on weekends and then they tend to post videos during the weekday, which I think is a pretty fine balance. In terms of consistency, that's the balance that I have mostly found. I have this Tuesday show every other week, and then I have a Friday show on the alternating weeks. And having that consistent day means viewers know what to expect, and that you can mostly pull it off while, doing other things on your channel. And it's fairly easy to implement content and strategies around that, because you know what days you have available for all that stuff. So going through their channel here, I will say, their branding overall is completely on point. Like, I absolutely love this. From the game looters as a name is pretty neat. They got their artwork going. They got a consistent thumbnail style. They have either character faces or their own reaction faces on the thumbnails. And if you pop into one of their streams, then you will see that they have a freaking awesome stream layout based on the game that they're playing. So they have one for Animal Crossing, they have one for Pokemon Sword and Shield, they got their chat frames, and then they have an awesome backdrop with all their Funko Pops and their Pokemon plushes and things like that, which is freaking awesome. And then can we find their shiny hunting stream? Yeah. And then their Pokemon shiny hunting stream, they have a separate layout built specifically for Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is awesome. Like, branding is completely on point here. They are killing it overall. Their backdrop is awesome. Their chat integration is clever. This is a channel with style and character. First and foremost, looking at one of their streams, they are committing a cardinal sin just right up front. I'm going to see if you can spot it, because I point it out all the time. That cardinal sin is with the face cam right here. They are looking out of frame. I wish I had an app where I could just like draw on the screen, but they're framed right here, and they are looking out of frame. And for any amount of basic like photography and cinematography 101, having the person look off page, out of frame, whatever, away from where your viewer's eyes are supposed to go, is considered like the number one big bad thing you're never supposed to do. Now, in this particular case, you could argue that it's better, because if you're looking in the non-theater view, chat is over here. So like they could be directing viewers' eyes over to chat. You could make that argument. But looking at the content itself, especially since chat is on screen, and so you don't need to have YouTube's chat up overall, they are looking away from chat and they are looking away from the gameplay. Which means, as a viewer, your eyes are naturally going to be pushed where their eyes are, because that's how human face psychology works. And you're going to look for their eyes, and then you're going to follow their eyes off frame, and you're not going to be looking at the gameplay or the chat. Now, obviously, eventually you're going to bring yourself to look at those things, but like, that's a disconnect with the viewer's brain, where they're being directed elsewhere from where they're supposed to look. Now, with their specific layout, I don't think the option is just like flipping the camera, because that could look weird with things mirrored, because then they're still not looking right. Like, I think it would require a complete overhaul of their layout to really make work. But just keep that in mind, that is considered one of the biggest no-nos when it comes to framing and composition and things like that. Secondly, they never change scenes. I know we just talked about that with the previous streamer, but for the entire hour and 48 minutes, now it's a shorter stream, but they never change to another view. And this is frustrating to me, because there is so much potential here. And in fact, I'm going to be like congratulatory here or something, and I'm going to pull up a super old video of mine to illustrate what I mean. The reason I find it so frustrating is because when you have, like, they put in the effort here, they put in the effort, which is a ton of effort, and I greatly, like, appreciate that they did this. But when they put in the effort to actually have capture cards for both persons' perspectives, they've got the face cam, they've got effectively three sources plus the screen elements. So they have their face cam, they have the camera views, and then they have the two individual perspectives of their gameplay. They have so many sources and so much potential for how they can present their stream because they have so many angles to work with. And instead of using any of that in a creative way, it is just the same scene over and over. And I'm really trying to find an example of where I did this with our Pokemon MMO Let's Play because I had a lot of fun with that. So keep in mind, this is 2012. This is cringy old content. It's not content I really want anyone to necessarily like watch or anything. And it's not up to today's standards. But keep in mind, this is what I was doing back in 2012. So we had our main perspective. Then I switched to, granted, we weren't doing face cam stuff at the time, but then I switched to a split screen view when we were battling the same people at the same time. And then I would alternate, and I had like editing templates set up to where I would alternate between our two perspectives as we were playing. Or if one of us was just walking around the world and the other was battling, I would have that shown as well. I was doing this in 2012 because the creative potential, not that I need to flex or anything, because again, this is really cringy content. I can't express that enough. But the creative potential that I saw by having multiple perspectives and multiple things going on is so huge that there's a lot that they're leaving on the table with the singular camera angle here. They could be switching to full screen perspectives of individual perspectives. They absolutely need a just chatting like full face cam view. They can swap the angles around. They can, just switch to one dedicated view while the other one's not doing anything important, and yada yada. The issue I think is for them, especially given that they are kind of rushed into their streaming setup due to the life stuff, which I completely get, I often am, is that juggling a lot of that is probably pretty difficult, for which I would recommend, and I have a video planned on this. I've had it planned for like a year. It's still coming. But for this, I would recommend either, obviously, a stream deck, and I have multiple stream decks mounted here on arms so I can juggle everything I need to juggle. Either that or a combination of that and foot pedals. You can get USB foot pedals that you can then assign hotkeys to switch scenes. So if you're playing a game and you don't want to like put the game down to keep the stream going, you can get little foot pedals that you can then use to quickly switch scenes to different perspectives and things like that. And you can keep it snappy. You can keep it like constantly changing and really interesting. And once you do it for a few streams, like if you do it for like a month or 2 months straight, it will become intuitive to you. The practice will just sink in, and that will become the natural thing you want to do, especially if you have a preview view of your stream, because I think they have 3 monitors. And so the ideal scenario of that would be person 1, preview, person 2, and then you get the foot pedal going, and both of you can have them as long as you're not fighting each other. You can both have pedals to like change scenes, and if you notice one hasn't been changing for a while, then you can switch, you can change when it's not necessarily your turn or whatever, and you can keep that stream just super snappy and interesting, especially since honestly, like shiny hunting in Pokemon and hunting for specific villagers in Animal Crossing, while it's a cool hang out with you content concept, it's not necessarily the most action-packed thing ever. And so keeping that more interesting and dynamic would be huge, and there's so much potential there by having the different angles and everything else. So I think that is a big thing to go with. Secondly, I'm not a huge fan of their mic quality.
Or Digimon or something like that. I started watching on 4Kids too, and even back there, I hated it. Now, the 4Kids version is very, like, it's terrible. But it wasn't, where am I?
They're both using SM7Bs, which are obviously incredible microphones, but they
Next
feel...
time, I need to do is convince my principal One Piece is a history book.
They feel really like boomy and flat while also being like overwhelmed. So compared to the first streamer we looked at, which had one microphone in the middle and there was so much reverb and room sound and it was just really crunchy and harsh, they have 2 microphones, and microphones that are going to reject each other, which is great and much better than we were doing in my Pokemon MMO videos when I only had 1 microphone back in 2012. So they're off on the right foot, but I don't think they have any EQ applied, and so they just have it really overcompressed, and as is being pointed out in the chat, there's way too much mids. So I'd recommend a sharp V curve cutting out those mids, and probably a high pass filter as well to roll off some of those low ends, and maybe tweak the compressor. If they want to reach out privately, I can help them more specifically, because without seeing settings or whatever, I can only offer so much. But conceptually, their mids are just way too in there, and I don't like it. They have really good microphones, but the quality is not necessarily great coming out of them. In terms of talking about consistency, to me, consistency means, like, in terms of them struggling with their schedule consistency, means that they really need to stick to the time and the day that they're streaming. They said that they always play or stream on the same days, but then when I was tuning into some of their streams, and I guess I'll switch to a different one since we've been looking at the same one for a while, and it's all about keeping it interesting, ladies and gentlemen. We'll switch to the Pokemon one. In one of their streams, one of them was mentioning that, like, they were gonna stream like 3 hours earlier and then just didn't for no real reason, and they were like, oh yeah, I guess we should finally stream today. That kind of non-committal attitude towards your time and things like that makes it really difficult, both for you and for your viewers, to feel committed to the show. Like, when I do these streams, unless there's something that comes up at home that I need to shift my time for, I stream at 3 p.m. Easterns for Streamer News and for Stream Theory. I build my entire schedule for that day around that time. If there are something, whenever I'm renewing a season or we're having a life change, a new year, my wife starts up something, if we need to change the time, then I choose that time based around what we're doing in life, so that I know that I always have this time block associated. I don't get to just show up and it's 3 p.m. and everyone's waiting on the stream and be like, maybe I'll stream in a couple hours, I'm gonna go watch a TV show. That's not professional. That's not something that gives viewers confidence to show up and watch the stream, and it's just going to burn viewers away. And it also builds that attitude within yourself to not be committed to the time and things like that in general. So you got to be like locked in on where you're going to stream. Now, there is flexibility. If something comes up, if you have to go do something, if life gets in your way, that's fine. Communicate that. But just doing it because you want to go do something else for a couple hours instead, that's a problem to me. In terms of content strategy, real quick, as we wrap up here for this stream review, I think they're doing a good job with overall strategy. They have reactions to events, which is super smart. On their streamed reaction events, which they had one for the Diamond and Pearl review a couple weeks ago, if I can find it. Yeah, that one. They put time codes on it after the fact, which is super smart. And actually on their React streams, they actually do go with the multiple camera angles. So they got the face cam view here. They had a full face cam view at the start. And actually, this appears to be, unless they just switched seats, which is possible, this view is actually mirrored compared to their other streams. So I would recommend just mirroring their camera back on their normal streams. But they're doing a good job in terms of reacting to stuff. They provide tips and tricks. They had a game review of an NBA game that just took off recently. I can't see my screen, so it's here somewhere. Oh yeah, NBA 2K22. Like, this is super variety. There's no like one type of game that they're really focused on, so they're gonna have a little bit of a slow grind in terms of that, as a smaller channel. But I think they're doing a good job in terms of strategy. I would recommend leveraging shorts a little bit more, as they don't have a ton. However, also looking back, they did used to focus a little bit more on a Monster Hunter game. Back when they were focusing on Monster Hunter, it seems like their views were a little bit higher. Now, of course, these could have built up over time, but it did seem like there was a significant drop-off once they stopped covering Monster Hunter. And I don't know if they got burned out, if they just needed to stop, it stopped being relevant or whatever. But it does seem like they built up a lot of viewership over this one game, and then they switched and lost some of that viewership. Now, you can just cut it off like that, but I would strongly recommend finding ways to, what I always recommend is trying to bridge your audience from game to game. So if you're making content about, like, if you have a lot of viewers focused on one game, give them reasons to care about the other games you're playing. How does this game relate to Monster Hunter? When Monster Hunter doesn't have a lot of new content, why they should pick up this game? When the new game comes out, this one versus this one, like, find ways to bridge those audience and members and give them reasons to then trickle over to your other content, rather than just cutting it off, because they're effectively going to treat it as if they never watch your channel anymore, because you're effectively a different channel than back when you posted those games. Now, I did recommend they post shorts, and they did post one. I want to look at this one as an example, because just as a one-off point, I think this represents how not to handle shorts.
What's going on, guys, and welcome to the Gamers YouTube Shorts. In this short video, we are going to be opening this pack right here of Shiny Fakes as we search for our beautiful Charizard. Let's get it.
So shorts as a content type. especially since it comes from TikTok, which you scroll through on your phone, is supposed to be as snappy and as into it as possible. So while YouTube videos on longer form videos tend to build up to the point, and while that annoys some people, that's kind of the format. Like you give you the hook, and then what we're going to do, why we're going to do it, how we're going to do it, and then it's done. Shorts are meant to be as in and out as possible. Shorts for Pokemon card openings should really just be highlights of your reactions to what you pull.
Oh, right.
Spending 11 seconds building up in a short is never the right move, regardless of content type. Like, you should just chop that out entirely. Just get into whatever it is, deliver on it immediately, and then maybe explain what you're doing at the end. With normal YouTube videos, you need that hook at the beginning, but otherwise you kind of build it up and then deliver. With shorts, it should be delivery first and foremost. Like, you could have entire shorts that are only 11 seconds. Like, the reaction to pulling an awesome pull could be only 11 seconds. But this comes from the mindset of someone who makes traditional YouTube videos. I struggled with this for years when it comes to shorter form content, TikTok, and things like that, because I'm used to that old school format. So,
As always,
all of that time spent building it up was effectively just wasted time and should have been spent just diving in. And frankly, one-off pack openings where you don't get anything cool is not necessarily worth posting because it's not exciting content. Whereas if you just highlight from longer form openings your big pulls, those could perform really well. And in terms of, like, I think they should do shorts with regards to like news reactions and things like that too, which then trickle back into their streams or VODs. Like, they could pair basically every big release, like they had 2 of these in one day, so not with literally every video, but every big release, be it a reaction stream, an individual stream, or a big specific topical video, you could pair that with a short and get those shorts views on it as well and feed back into the full video and perform really well. So just some suggestions there. Let's jump into their report card. In terms of video quality, I'm giving them an A. Overall, their presentation and quality was pretty great. Not super stellar, but YouTube, compresses things anyway, so it's hard to judge anyway. But overall, like, I had no significant complaints about their video quality. Their lighting was great. Their game captures were high quality and everything. My only complaint was, of course, the looking out of frame, which has more to do with the presentation category than necessarily video quality. Audio quality, I'm giving them a B. I really think they need to work on their mic settings. Otherwise, they have exactly what they need for this kind of co-op setup. So solid there. They just need to get rid of those mids. In terms of hosting, I'm giving them an A-, and that's because they do a great job overall. Like, they're responding to the chat, they're keeping active. There's 2 of them. They're playing off of each other. The negative being that they didn't change any scenes, and that they don't take a break from the game. Like, I find their overall gaming presentation, and obviously some of this goes to presentation, but their overall hosting is so focused on just kind of playing what they're doing in the game that there's not a lot of hosting spent on just like stopping and talking with chat or like more personal interactions, as I would say it. But overall, they're doing a great job there. Metadata, I'm giving them an A. Their titles overall seem to be pretty solid, SEO friendly, all of that jazz, no complaints there. Graphics, I'm giving them a B+. Again, I think they should do more with them, and I have a complaint about the webcam being pointed out of frame. And then presentation is their weakest grade at a C. Again, they're not changing scenes, they're not leveraging the massive creative potential that they have in front of them, and really like integrating chat in any significant way. And I think some of this comes down to the ability to prepare ahead of time. I think some of it comes down to just maybe not having thought of it, but I think there's a lot they could do to really make their content just pop that much more, and I would love to see them live up to it.